Intel reported earnings today, beating the street with $13.1 billion in revenue in the last quarter. Joining us now from Intel Santa Clara headquarters is CFO Stacy Smith. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us. And the numbers do look good. But if analysts are saying that PC sales are eroding, what do these numbers actually tell us?
Well, I think the numbers speak for themselves. It's our first ever $13 billion quarter. We've seen significant growth really across all of the major segments of our business. In fact, we've seen double-digit growth across all of our reportable segments. When I look at what's driving the market, it's the things that we've been talking about. We see the enterprise market being strong. We see emerging markets being very strong. And we're benefiting from all of these devices that are computing, connecting to the internet, and they're driving the build out of the cloud, and that helps our server business. And so we see broad-based strength, and we're pretty excited about the results we just posted.
And you're seeing a surge in orders from companies like Google and Facebook building out their data centers. But when that cycle runs itself out, where does the growth come from?
Well, I think that we're at the early stages of the build out of this internet cloud. Just to throw out an interesting data point there, Cisco published some data that said the internet traffic in 2010 was more than the combined internet traffic of every year up to 2010. And so I think we're at the beginning of this secular trend as more and more devices connect to the internet. The content that the internet serves to these devices is increasingly rich content. And I think it's been a great driver of our business, and I think it's early days.
Stacy, it's John Erlichman. You're benefiting indirectly from this mobile chip story, and that's something that you've clearly outlined. But down the road, do you want to be known as a company that is making mobile phone chips the way that Qualcomm is? Is the investor story clear on where you're headed, a couple of years down the road from here?
Yeah, our very clear plan is, we have this great position in the notebook market, and the desktop market, and the server market. We're going to take our process technology leadership, our ability to provide the most performance at every given power and form factor that's out there, and we're going to extend into things like tablets and things like phones. We're well into the design cycle. We've got some great products coming to market. You should see those, within the next 9 months or so in people's hands. So we're excited about those segments of the market, and I think they give us a great opportunity for growth beyond what we're seeing in our more traditional businesses.
And you guys have spent some money on getting into some of those other areas. You have a lot of cash, and you told us back in May that you were looking at some small acquisitions down the road. If there was one area where you would use that cash to go out and buy something, even if it's small, what would that area be?
It's never a good idea for me to talk prospectively about something we might go buy. It just does too many negative things out there. So I think I'll pass on getting specific. I think if you look, though, at our history, what you've seen is that we historically have this pattern of, at a pretty regular cadence, we're going off and buying companies that have innovative technology that dovetails nicely with the kinds of markets that we're going into. We just recently did one in the server space that's more in the Ethernet area. Those kinds of things make a lot of sense to us, and you're going to continue to see us do a cadence of those kinds of acquisitions going forward.
Stacey, how much do you think about broader economic trends, like what's going on with the European debt crisis, U.S. unemployment numbers? Does any of that make you at all more cautious?
Yeah, over long periods of time, our business does mirror GDP growth around the world, and I think that's exactly what's happening, in the first half of this year. We saw strength in emerging markets where GDP growth was pretty robust. We saw relative softness in mature market consumers where GDP growth has been muted and where consumer sentiment has fallen. So, it is a concern. When I look at economic forecasts for the back half, I think most of them are, the consensus is pretty clearly forecasting a stronger second half than what we saw in the first half. But you do have to worry about, these kinds of event-driven things like the debt crisis in Europe and the debt ceiling in the U.S. as being things that could derail that. So those are things that we watch carefully and pay a lot of attention to.
So given all of those things going on in different markets, how do you balance your priorities and allocate your attention?
Well, I think it's always good to look at where we're making investments. We're making incremental investments across the different markets that we serve. So in the PC category, we're going through and we're actually redefining what a PC looks like in the future. We call that the Ultrabook. And it's going to be a device that's very thin and light. It has capabilities like instant on and always connected. So it kind of takes the best of what you're seeing in tablets in a PC form factor in a very thin and light, kind of sexy shell, and puts it in consumers' hands. So we think that's going to drive a lot of innovation in the PC market. In addition, we're making investments in terms of our phone offerings and our tablet offerings to make sure that we can be well represented in those form factors. So my attention is across all of those, and we're making investments across all of those different businesses.
And we will be watching all of those things as well. Intel CFO Stacy Smith, thank you so much for joining us today on Earnings Day.